Michael Port in Book Yourself Solid starts talking about the red velvet rope. So, like, what are the standards that you want your clients to meet? A red velvet rope is like a, if you go to a nightclub and think of a bouncer that is keeping people out. So there's a long line, and a long line of people waiting to get into the club, and in front of the door of the club there's this red velvet rope, and the bouncer, you say, okay, yes, my name is Davender, and I'd like to come into this establishment tonight, and takes a look at the list. Davender, are you on the list? Yes, okay, you can pass. And then he lifts the red velvet rope and you pass. Or, in my case, he might say, no, you're not cool enough. You're not cool enough to be in this. Go away. And so the red velvet rope is a kind of a standard that you want to use when choosing the clients that are right for you and where you want to take your business. So, yes, you can design a client base that will help you attract more and better clients. Because remember, you are the clients you keep. People will take a look at who you are serving right now. Who are your clients? And they will ask themselves, do I fit into this client base? So that's principle number one of becoming the go-to professional, is you are the clients you keep. Remember that. I hope that's branded now. All right. Principle number two. You are your positioning. All right, what does positioning mean? Okay, quick. I say soft drink. All right, what just came up in your mind? Most likely either Coke, or if you live in Quebec, Pepsi. If I say plop plop fizz fizz, for people of a certain age, you'll be able to finish the rhyme, and it's a certain kind of antacid. And so what a positioning is all about is, I define positioning in the following way. What people think about when they think of you, and what people talk about when they talk about you. So what people think about when they think about you, what people talk about when they talk about you. So it's the images and the words that come to mind when people think of you. And vice versa also. It is when they have certain images that come to mind, or they hear certain words, they think about you. So your positioning is really, really important. I make a distinction between positioning and branding. Branding is sort of like this image that we want to project. And branding is from me towards my client base. Positioning is how people receive it on the other end, how your client base receives it. And so ideally what you want is your positioning to connect with your branding. You want the two to be the one and the same. But in the real life it doesn't happen that way. There's usually a distance between your positioning and your branding. Your positioning is the idea people get about you as they watch you, as they hear you, as they see you. It is what the word of mouth that's happening about you. So what people think about when they think of you, what people say when they talk about you, you have no control over that. You don't have control over your positioning. So it's very, very important that everything you say, you do, you show, everything should be really, really aligned with the kind of branding you want to project and the positioning you want people to perceive. You are your positioning. A positioning is, and that's where your positioning becomes even more important in my opinion. Your positioning becomes more important than even your qualifications, because people won't necessarily look at all the degrees that you have, because it's sort of meaningless to them. Like in the coaching world, I hold a belief, okay, this is my belief, and I'm allowed to have it. PCC, MCC, ACC, all these certified coach certifications. Well, in my experience, in the hundreds of clients that I've served, not one has ever asked me if I have that qualification. The question that they ask is more around, can I help them? And what they look at is we looked at principle number one, they look at the kinds of clients that I'm serving now, and they ask themselves, well, do I fit in that crowd? And then also, what is the word of mouth? What is the positioning? What are people saying about me? Those two are, I find, are much more important than any PhD, MSc, MA qualification, piece of paper, piece of parchment that you can get. You need to be qualified. You need to be competent. I'm not saying just go out there without the background and without the knowledge. But it's not the competence that will get you the clients. It's going to be these elements that we're talking about right now, and your positioning is a key element that will help you attract clients that recognize the value that you offer and who are ready to commit. And that's what being a go-to professional is all about. Principle number 3. You are how much people like you and trust you. Principle number 3. You are how much people like you and how much they trust you. This is about likability. Do people like you? And there's a book that I really like by Tim Ferriss. I hope I got the name correctly because I mix him up with somebody else. But the name of the book, you can find it, is The Likability Factor. The Likability Factor. And this is about likability. And there are 4 elements to likability. The short form to remember it is FERR, F-E-R-R. F, friendliness. Are you friendly? Do people feel comfortable when they're in your presence? So friendliness is very important. You need to be approachable. You need to be available. You need to be friendly. The kind of people that they would like to hang around. So being the go-to professional, you need to be friendly. So don't be aloof. Don't try and position yourself as a kind of a know-it-all, because then people won't want to be around you. So friendliness. Second, empathy. Empathy, meaning how do people feel, the degree to which people feel that I understand their situation. Do people think that I walked their walk, I've been in their shoes? Empathy. So that relates to a kind of a connection between me and the other person. Friendliness, empathy. R, being real. So being real. Do people see that I'm real, or am I a bit phony? Is there substance behind the image that I'm trying to project? And that's related to positioning, because people will pick up pretty quickly if there's a mismatch, if it's not synced between, there's no sync between the image I'm projecting and who I really am. And then finally, relevance. Does it click here? Is there a connection here? And do people perceive that I'm the right person for them in that situation? So friendliness, empathy, being real, and relevance. FERR, the 4 dimensions of likability. Get the book, The Likability Factor. And it's a must-read for solo professionals, especially if you want to become the go-to professional in your field. Because, people, you are how much people like you and how much they trust you. Quick note about trust. We talked about like and likability. Trust. I have a very specific concept around trust, and it's how our value systems connect. If our values are compatible. And this value compatibility is very, very important. I have a colleague of mine, somebody that I know, and I've had an opportunity to work with him, and he's a lawyer, and very competent. He's good at what he does, but there are some values that don't quite click, and so I have trouble to send referrals to him, even though he's really, really good, because he's a great guy. I'm sure he has a lot of integrity. But there's some personal values that don't click. It's not that they clash, but it's that what is most important for me is not necessarily that same value for him is somewhere else on his value scale. And we all have that. We all have different values, and we place different importance to the various values, and that sort of determines how you attract people that trust you and how you build the bond of trust with other people. So I'm not the go-to professional for everybody.